Listen to me, this is important. Life isn't going to get easier. The challenges, the struggles, the obstacles, they aren't going away. And if you're waiting for the perfect moment, the right time, or for things to magically get simpler, you're going to stay stuck. But here's the truth that most people never realize. It's not life that changes, it's you. You get stronger, you get sharper, you get more resilient. Every struggle, every setback, every failure is an opportunity to grow, to rise, to become unshakable. The question, are you ready to rise? Pain is not the enemy. Most people spend their entire lives running from it, trying to avoid discomfort, trying to protect themselves from anything that feels heavy or uncertain. But the truth is, pain is often the first doorway to your real strength. It's the signal that something inside you is ready to evolve. When life brings pressure, it's not trying to crush you. It's trying to shape you. If you've ever lifted a weight, you know the muscle doesn't grow because the weight is light. It grows because the weight is just heavy enough to challenge you, just heavy enough to demand more from you than you gave yesterday. Life works the exact same way. Think about the moments in your life that truly changed you. Not the easy days, not the days where everything worked out exactly as you planned. It was the days when things fell apart, when you didn't know how you'd get through, when the old version of you simply wasn't strong enough to face what was in front of you. And yet, somehow you did. You may not have realized it then, but that was growth in real time. That was life calling you forward. That was strength being built quietly, internally, rep by rep. But here's what most people misunderstand. Pain doesn't automatically make you stronger. It's what you do with the pain that matters. Some people collapse under it. They interpret pain as a sign to stop, to shrink, to turn back. And others, the ones who grow, the ones who break patterns, the ones who rise, they use pain as information. They ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? What part of me needs to grow so this challenge doesn't control me anymore? That shift in meaning changes everything. When you change the meaning of your pain, you change the trajectory of your life. Suddenly, setbacks aren't punishments. They're invitations. Failures aren't endings, they're recalibrations. And discomfort becomes a signal that you're in the right place, stretching into the next version of who you're meant to become. You stop fearing the hard moments because you realize they're the moments that give you your edge. They carve depth, resilience, and character into you. No one ever became unstoppable by staying comfortable. And you know this. Deep down, you already know you've grown more from adversity than from ease. You've already survived things you once thought would break you. You've already proven that strength lives inside you, strength you didn't even know you had until life demanded it. So imagine how much more is still there waiting for you to activate it. What if instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You said, this is preparing me. What if you stopped resisting the friction and started leaning into it? Because here's the truth, you don't have to like the pain, but you can learn to respect it. You can learn to see it as part of the process of becoming unshakable. Every time life tests you, it's actually training you to show up with more certainty, training you to trust yourself, training you to discover what you're capable of when things aren't easy. And the moment you realize that, pain loses its power over you. You stop running from the things that challenge you and start welcoming the things that grow you. You stop wishing for easier days and start demanding a stronger you. Because the goal isn't to eliminate difficulty, the goal is to rise above it. And once you understand that, once you embrace that, everything in your life begins to shift. You don't get stronger when life is easy. You get stronger when you decide to grow through what once made you fold. Your standards are the invisible force that shape everything you become. Most people spend their lives waiting for motivation, waiting for inspiration, waiting for the perfect moment. But the truth is, strength doesn't come from waiting. It comes from what you demand of yourself every single day. You rise to the level of your standards, not to the level of your desires. You don't wake up one day magically stronger, magically disciplined, magically unstoppable. You build it by setting a higher standard for how you show up in every moment, in every decision, in every interaction. Think about this for a moment. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you compromise your standards, you shrink your potential. Every time you hold yourself to a higher level, you create momentum that compounds over time. Strength isn't just about physical power or mental toughness. It's about the consistency of your character, the relentless demand you place on yourself to live at your highest level, even when no one is watching. That's what separates those who succeed from those who settle. It's not luck, it's standards. But here's the part most people miss. Raising your standards is uncomfortable. It forces you to say no to things you used to accept. It forces you to push past laziness, procrastination, and excuses. It forces you to look at your life honestly and ask, am I living the life I want, or am I settling for the life I'm used to? Most people would rather settle. Most people would rather stay safe. But strength doesn't live in safety. Strength lives on the edge of your comfort zone where you choose to be better, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Standards are not a punishment. They are a declaration of who you are and who you are becoming. When you set higher standards, you start to see opportunities differently. You stop tolerating mediocrity in others and in yourself. You start attracting people, situations, and resources that match the level of excellence you demand. You begin to operate from a place of power rather than a place of reaction. And over time, the energy you generate from living at a higher standard becomes unstoppable. It's invisible, yet undeniable. Others can feel it, the world responds to it. Here's the real secret. Your standards define your identity. If you wake up and settle for average, if you allow excuses to dictate your day, if you let fear or fatigue or doubt determine your choices, you are signaling to yourself that you are average. But when you hold yourself to a higher standard, to integrity, to courage, to excellence, you are literally shaping the strongest version of yourself. You are telling yourself, I will not accept less than what I am capable of becoming. And when you live by that rule, strength becomes inevitable. It's not about being perfect. It's not about achieving some unattainable ideal. It's about creating a baseline that your life must meet, a baseline that forces growth, a baseline that builds resilience, courage, and power. Every time you step up to that baseline, you reinforce a stronger version of yourself. Every time you refuse to settle, you increase the distance between who you were yesterday and who you're becoming tomorrow. Strength isn't given. Strength isn't found in comfort. Strength comes through the standards you refuse to compromise, on the level of excellence you refuse to negotiate, and the commitment to yourself that no matter what, you will rise above what holds most people back. Raise your standards and you raise your life. Progress doesn't come from perfection. Most people get trapped in the idea that they need everything to be flawless before they move, before they act, before they take the next step. They wait for the perfect timing, the perfect conditions, the perfect mindset, and meanwhile, life keeps moving. Strength, real strength, doesn't wait for perfection. Strength is forged in motion, in action, in showing up even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you feel unsure. Every small step you take compounds over time. Every imperfect action, every attempt that isn't perfect is laying the foundation for the person you are becoming. Think about it. When you start a new habit, a new routine, a new challenge, the beginning always feels awkward. You stumble, you make mistakes. You fall short of what you hope to accomplish. That's not failure, that's the process. That's what growth looks like in real time. If you wait until you can do it perfectly, you'll never start. But if you start now imperfectly, you give yourself the chance to improve, to learn, to build momentum. Each day you show up, each action you take, you are layering strength into your identity. You are training yourself to be relentless, to keep going even when it's hard. Consistency is the secret that most people overlook. It's not the one massive breakthrough that changes everything. It's the small, repeated actions over time that create unstoppable momentum. Every morning you wake up and choose to push forward. Every decision to do the right thing even when it's hard, every effort to grow despite fear or fatigue is a vote for the stronger version of yourself. And just like compound interest in finance, these small actions multiply. The energy, the confidence, the capability you build today carries over to tomorrow and the next day and the next. That's how you become someone who can handle more, someone who can rise to challenges that would have crushed the old version of you. And here's the thing. Imperfect action teaches you more than perfect plans ever could. When you actually try, when you step into the arena, you get feedback, you learn what works, what doesn't, where you need to grow, and where you are stronger than you realized. Waiting for perfection keeps you stagnant. Acting imperfectly accelerates growth. It forces you to adapt, to adjust, to innovate, to stretch beyond what you thought possible. The real transformation comes not from having the answers, but from learning how to find them through action. You have to embrace the process. You have to stop judging yourself for not being where you think you should be and start valuing the fact that you are moving, that you are doing, that you are trying. Every rep you do in the gym, every minute you dedicate to learning, every effort you make to improve your relationships or your career is building resilience, confidence, and skill. Over time, the person who acts consistently, even imperfectly, becomes unstoppable. The old fears, doubts, and insecurities begin to fade because you have built proof inside yourself that you can handle more than you thought. Remember, strength doesn't appear overnight. It is the result of persistent, imperfect action day after day, even when it feels hard. The person you want to become isn't waiting for the perfect day or perfect conditions. That person is built right now in the small, consistent choices you make, in the courage to act even when it isn't perfect, in the determination to keep moving forward no matter what. Your momentum, your growth, your strength begins the moment you take action, no matter how imperfect it feels. Most people underestimate the power of the story they tell themselves. We all have these narratives running in our minds, explanations for why things happen the way they do, reasons for why we succeed or fail, reasons for why life is unfair or why we can't rise above certain challenges. And here's the truth. It's not the events in your life that hold you back. It's the story you tell about them. The same situation can either crush you or catapult you forward, depending on how you interpret it. The key to strength isn't avoiding struggle, it's rewriting the meaning of struggle in your mind. Think about it. Every obstacle you've faced, every rejection, every failure could be seen as evidence that you aren't good enough. It could be seen as a sign that you are being prepared, strengthened, and pushed to a level you didn't know existed. When you frame your experiences as lessons instead of punishments, as challenges instead of disasters, you begin to take control of your own power. You stop being a victim of circumstance, and you start being the architect of your destiny. Strength comes from owning your story and choosing the version of it that empowers you. Most people don't realize how much of their energy is wasted on the story that limits them. They replay failures in their mind, they magnify criticisms, they imagine worst-case scenarios, and they allow that narrative to dictate their choices. The more they believe that story, the weaker they feel, the less they act, the smaller they become. But what if you stopped feeding that story? What if you interrupted it and replaced it with a new narrative? One where every challenge is a stepping stone. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every fear is an invitation to grow. That shift is where real strength begins. Changing your story doesn't mean lying to yourself. It doesn't mean pretending pain doesn't exist or that failure isn't hard. It means interpreting those experiences through a lens that builds resilience rather than breaks it. It means asking, what is this moment trying to teach me? How can I use this to become stronger, wiser, and more capable? When you ask those questions, your perception changes, and with perception comes power. Suddenly, what once felt like an obstacle now feels like an opportunity. What once felt like a limitation now feels like a challenge you are equipped to overcome. And here's the beauty of it. When you rewrite your story, you don't just change how you see your circumstances, you change how the world responds to you. People are drawn to those who carry confidence, clarity, and strength. Strength isn't just physical, it's mental and emotional. It's built on the foundation of the story you tell yourself every day. The more you choose empowerment over victimhood, the more energy, courage, and determination you create within yourself. You also start to notice that fear and doubt lose their grip when your story changes. The challenges that once paralyzed you no longer have the same power. The same situations that once made you retreat now ignite determination. Because your story isn't just a narrative, it's a lens through which you operate in the world. And when that lens is focused on possibility, growth, and strength, your actions begin to reflect that vision. You become unstoppable not because life is easier, but because you are stronger than the story that used to hold you back. The moment you realize your story is yours to rewrite, weakness becomes fuel and fear becomes fire. Discipline is the bridge between where you are now and the strength you want to achieve. Most people think power comes from talent, luck, or circumstances, but the truth is real power comes from the small, consistent choices you make when no one is watching. Every time you choose to do what you know is right over what feels easy, every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you are building muscle in your character. Discipline is the training ground for strength. It's where your potential turns into power and your power turns into freedom. When you start to master your habits, your routines, and your responses, life begins to feel different. The challenges that once seemed overwhelming start to shrink, not because they've changed, but because you've changed. You've created a version of yourself that can handle more pressure, more responsibility, more opportunity, because you've trained for it. And that training doesn't come from one dramatic act, it comes from repetition, from showing up again and again, even when motivation is low, even when the path feels impossible. Strength grows in those repeated moments of choice. Most people underestimate the invisible power of consistency. They look for breakthroughs and instant results, and when they don't see them, they give up. But discipline works quietly. It accumulates in ways that aren't immediately visible until suddenly one day, you look back and realize that the person you are today is unrecognizable compared to who you were a year ago. You can handle situations that would have broken you before. You can endure challenges that would have made you quit. You have a calm confidence because you've trained yourself to operate at a higher level every single day. That's what discipline does. It creates power that is unstoppable because it is grounded in consistency. And here's the paradox. The things that feel hardest today are the very things that will make tomorrow easier. The behaviors you resist, the routines you struggle to maintain, the sacrifices you make, they compound into strength. Once you master them, they become effortless. What was once hard becomes natural, your energy, your focus, your clarity. All of it grows stronger because you've invested in yourself. Discipline is not a punishment, it is the path to freedom. Freedom to take control of your life. Freedom to handle whatever challenges come your way. Freedom to rise to your full potential. Discipline also gives you choice. Without it, life is reactive. You are tossed around by circumstances, emotions, and other people's decisions. With discipline, you create the conditions where you can respond instead of react. You operate from a place of power instead of fear. You make decisions that serve your growth and protect your energy. You are no longer at the mercy of external events because you've built an internal framework that supports you. That is the essence of strength. It is self-created and self-sustaining. The journey of discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't make headlines. It often goes unnoticed, but it is the foundation of every extraordinary life. Every breakthrough, every success, every moment of true freedom is built on the choices you make when no one else is watching. And the more you commit to those choices, the stronger you become until the person you are is capable of handling anything life throws at you without breaking, without doubting, without fear. Discipline turns effort into power, and power turns into unstoppable freedom. The strongest version of yourself isn't something you stumble upon by accident. It's something you step into consciously and deliberately every single day. Most people wait for life to give them confidence, motivation, courage, but the truth is these qualities are cultivated from the inside out. You become stronger by choosing to operate as the highest version of yourself, even when circumstances are hard, even when fear is present, even when the old habits of doubt and hesitation are whispering in your ear. Strength is not something that happens to you. It's something you create with the decisions you make right now. Every morning presents a choice. You can show up as someone who reacts to life, someone who lets the day happen to them, or you can step into your higher self, the version of you who is confident, determined, and unshakable. That version doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. That version doesn't shrink in the face of difficulty. That version faces the hard moments head on and uses them as fuel to grow stronger. When you align with that higher self consistently, you begin to notice a shift in how you move through the world. Challenges no longer feel paralyzing, setbacks no longer feel defeating, fear no longer feels like a cage. The process of stepping into your higher self requires awareness and intentionality. It starts with noticing the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind, the emotions you habitually feed, and the behaviors you repeat without thinking. Most people let these things run on autopilot, and as a result, they stay small, reactive, and stuck. But the moment you choose to intervene, the moment you decide, I will not operate from fear, I will operate from strength, you begin to take control of your destiny. You build momentum not just through what you do, but through who you choose to be in each moment. Strength is also amplified by the energy you bring into every situation. When you operate from your higher self, you bring focus, passion, and intensity to the things that matter most. You don't waste energy on doubt, excuses, or distractions. You move with purpose, and that purpose draws opportunities, people, or instances towards you that match the level of energy you put out. The stronger your inner state, the more unstoppable your outer results become. The higher self is a magnet for growth, and the more consistently you inhabit it, the more strength it generates. And here's the thing, showing up as your higher self doesn't mean you never feel fear, uncertainty, or frustration. It means that despite those feelings, you choose to act from a place of strength. You choose courage over comfort, clarity over confusion, action over hesitation. Every time you do this, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of handling whatever life throws at you. You are training yourself to respond with power rather than reaction, with confidence rather than doubt, with action rather than avoidance. Over time, these choices compound, and the strongest version of yourself becomes the default version of yourself. The most powerful people aren't extraordinary because they avoid challenges. They're extraordinary because they have trained themselves to rise above them. And that training happens every day in the small choices, the consistent actions, and the deliberate alignment with the person they want to become. When you commit to showing up as your higher self daily, you stop letting life dictate your state. You start dictating your state, your energy, your focus, and your actions. You become stronger not because life has changed, but because you have. You become unstoppable by aligning with the strongest version of yourself, and every day you get to choose who that person is.